Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to mypillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. mypillow.com, promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Another winter storm headed our way. We have the latest forecast for you. Last night, Senate Democrats and the White House reached a deal to fund the government, but lawmakers on both sides say there's still work to be done. We'll try to interpret the drama for you in today's show. Hunter Biden said it's irrelevant that he suddenly ghosted his 7-year-old daughter, whom he shares with ex-stripper Lunden Roberts, arguing in a new legal filing that he was never legally obligated to have a relationship with her. What a cold-hearted man. If a bank accidentally drops $1 million into your account, do you give it back? Or do you take a 1-year vacation behind bars instead? One man had that decision to make. I'll tell you what he decided in today's show. And Lieutenant Governor Pamela Abbott joins us to discuss Governor McMaster's last State of the State this week and the latest in what's happening in Columbia.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
All right, so brace yourself. Another heavy winter storm forming on its way. Heavy snow possible. Total snow accumulations between 4 and 7 inches possible in the upstate of South Carolina. Winds could gust as high as 35 miles per hour, where portions of northeast Georgia, Piedmont, and western North Carolina and upstate South Carolina could see these heavy snows. Now, this is going to start happening possibly late afternoon, early evening tonight into Saturday morning through Sunday. The heavy snow will make many roads impassable, may produce isolated power outages due to the weight of the snow on tree limbs and power lines. The hazardous conditions could impact everything this coming weekend, maybe even into next week as the temperatures are going to be below freezing many days to come. Now, the snow is expected to rapidly stick to roads, other surfaces due to the colder temperatures this time initially. Travel conditions could deteriorate rapidly as early as tonight. Very gusty winds potentially on Saturday could result in areas of blowing snow causing very poor visibility. So if you don't have to go out, don't. Hope you got plenty of supplies and hunker down. Now, if you're watching the D.C. circus from the outside, it probably feels like the same movie we've all seen hundreds of times, just with different actors and worse dialogue. So here we go again. Another looming government shutdown, another last-minute deal, another round of press conferences where everyone claims victory, nobody takes responsibility, and the American people are left wondering why basic governing feels like rocket science. Throughout the week, late Wednesday into Thursday, and last night, Senate Democrats, the White House finally cobbled together a deal to keep most of the government funded. Key word, most. And yes, President Donald Trump is right when he says that another long, ugly government shutdown would slow the country down, hurt working families, and inject even more chaos into an already chaotic world, particularly our economy. But don't be fooled by the word deal. This wasn't some kumbaya moment of bipartisan cooperation. It was trench warfare throughout the week. Chuck Schumer, Senate Minority Leader from New York rolled into negotiations with a list of demands, delays, procedural roadblocks. The White House accused him of blocking meetings. Democrats torpedoed a test vote early yesterday, along with 7 Republicans, who decided now was the time to draw a line in the sand. Suddenly, after hours of backroom bargaining, Schumer announces we've agreed to separate the DHS funding bill from the rest of the package. And that's a key ingredient, folks, the DHS funding bill. Translation, Homeland Security, the agency responsible for border security, ICE, and enforcing immigration law, gets shoved to the side, or isolated, I should say. Now, why does that matter? Because DHS, of course, is ground zero for the immigration debate, the immigration enforcement that we have been talking about for months now. Democrats have been crystal clear. They don't want ICE enforcing the law the way Congress wrote it. They want restrictions. They want leverage. And they're willing to flirt with another shutdown to get it. They want ICE out of Minneapolis, to be specific. Now, this isn't about funding the Coast Guard or FEMA or airport security. It's about ICE, Border Patrol. It's about whether federal law will actually be enforced or selectively ignored, like a lot of Democrats want. President Trump said Republicans and Democrats have come together to fund the vast majority of the government through September while extending DHS funding short term so negotiations can continue. He urged all of Congress to get on board, to get it done. And from a strategic standpoint, many Republicans are saying, look, this isn't ideal, but a shutdown is worse. And I would have to agree with that. And let's just be honest here. Democrats have us in a peculiar situation here. They know it because there are some Republicans who have weakened because of the shooting, particularly this latest shooting of this young man in Minneapolis. Senator Steve Daines summed it up pretty bluntly. Stripping DHS wasn't the best outcome, but it might be the way to avoid a prolonged shutdown. So we're going to pass the budget for all the other agencies, but we're going to withhold DHS and we're going to give them 2 more weeks, which is what it's looking like. And then we'll come up with a long-term budget, or at least through September. Now, once again, DHS is treated like a bargaining chip. Our security, our border security, is treated like a bargaining chip by the Democrats. Immigration enforcement is kicked down the road with a 2-week continuing resolution while Washington, quote, negotiates. Let me ask you something. I'm asking this as a taxpayer, as a citizen who believes in the rule of law. If border security is a national priority, and it is because Donald Trump soundly defeated Joe Biden pretty much on that issue alone, that he would close the border, why is it always the first thing put on ice? Pun intended, ice. Now, add another layer to the mess. Early yesterday, Senate Majority Leader John Thune moved forward with a test vote on the funding package. Democrats blocked it. But, again, they didn't do it alone. 7 Republicans joined them. Earmarks, spending carve-outs, backroom deals that have nothing to do with keeping the lights on and everything to do with business as usual in Washington. Senators like Ron Johnson, Rick Scott, Ted Budd said enough is enough. And then there's Senator Rand Paul, who, love him or hate him, is at least consistent. Rand Paul wants a vote to strip millions of what he calls refugee welfare money from the bill. And he's made it clear if leadership refuses to allow that vote, he's willing to slow the whole process down. I don't know where it's headed. If you may disagree with his tactics, but you got to hand it to the guy. He sticks to his principles. Why is refugee and welfare spending buried inside of a must-pass funding bill? Good question. Why can't Washington ever debate these things out in the open? It's not radical. It's just letting sunlight shine. It's transparency. Now, here's the political reality nobody wants to say out loud. Even if the Senate passes this patched-together deal, the House has to return to Washington potentially as early as Monday if the weather allows it, and they got to pass it, and there's already House leaders saying never going to do it, not going to happen. The House, they're at home in their districts this week. Fiscal hawks are already blasting the plan. And you're going to see a serious fight inside the Republican conference over whether this is another surrender dressed up as pragmatism. So where does that leave us? It leaves us with a government that might stay open, a DHS funding bill kicked down the road for a couple of weeks, and an immigration debate that remains unresolved on purpose. And it's going to get very heated in the next couple of weeks because the Democrats believe chaos is leverage. If Washington actually solved the border crisis, a whole lot of political talking points would disappear. Fundraising emails would dry up. Cable news panels would get boring, and politicians on both sides would lose their favorite excuse. And that is the real problem. Let's fix the border permanently. Let's fix our immigration system permanently. This isn't about incompetence. It's about incentives. Shutdown threats are used as weapons, as negotiating tools. DHS is used as a hostage right now, and the American people are told once again to just trust the process. Well, you tell me, do you trust it? Text me, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. It's not your fault that losing weight is getting harder and harder. You're eating better, you're moving more, but your body isn't responding the way it used to. That's not willpower, that's metabolism. And believe me, I've learned so much about the metabolism from the folks at PhD Weight Loss, and it's made a huge difference in my life. Joey Hudson here. For many people, years of dieting quietly slows the metabolic system down, so the harder you try, the less progress you see. At PhD Weight Loss, they help people identify what's actually blocking fat loss, and they fix the root cause, not just count calories. If you want to understand why your body isn't cooperating, call PhD Weight Loss now and mention Fix My Weight Loss to unlock the New Year's special. It's free, it's personalized, and it could explain everything. Call 864-644-1900 and say Fix My Weight Loss. That's 864-644-1900 and say Fix My Weight Loss to get started today. You can also find them online at myphdweightloss.com. That's myphdweightloss.com. Start the new year off right and fix your weight loss. Quick question for you. If a bank accidentally drops $1 million into your account, do you give it back or do you take a one-year vacation behind bars instead? Because the internet story says one man just picked option B. And yes, this is a real court case. So here's the story. Sounds like something straight out of a Netflix crime series, doesn't it? But it actually did happen, or at least a version of it happened. There's several floating around the internet. Supposedly a Nigerian man named Ojo Kingsley woke up one day to find $1 million. And this is where some of the internet sleuths differ on the story. Some claim it was $1.5 billion, but trustworthy news outlets seem to support the $1 million amount. Either way, a lot of money was mistakenly deposited into his first bank account. Now, let's pause right there because most people, if they see an unexpected deposit, might call the bank, right? Some might panic. Others might say, well, let's just not touch it. Mr. Kingsley, well, he apparently said, let's spend it. According to court records and Nigeria's Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, known as the EFCC, Mr. Kingsley quietly diverted that money between June and November of last year, 2025. Not all at once, not accidentally, over a period of months, since systematically. Eventually, the EFCC caught up with him. By the time prosecutors stepped in, authorities had already recovered approximately $802 million from the Kingsley's account and from accounts belonging to his mother and his sister as well. It was a family affair. So at that point, most of the money is back. It's back in the rightful place in the bank, but not all of it. That left roughly a couple $1 million still outstanding. And here's where the story takes a turn that you kind of can't believe, right? A few weeks back, Mr. Kingsley is standing in court. He pleads guilty, says, yes, I did it. The judge gives him a choice. Refund the remaining outstanding millions or serve 1 year in prison. Now, this is where the interpretation of the story gets a little bit fuzzy. In some reports, Mr. Kingsley says, I'll take the jail time. In other reports, they claim, according to Nigeria courts, he didn't have a choice. He was going to jail regardless. Either way, Mr. Kingsley looked a whole lot richer as he was taken off to prison in the prison suit and the handcuffs. No appeal, no negotiation, just prison time. Now, whether that math makes sense financially Legally or morally, that's a debate that's being held on social media. Some are asking a very simple question. Is the punishment too light? Did the law unintentionally reward fraud? Or is this a cautionary tale about touching money that simply is not yours? And you know it. Because one thing is clear, this wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't a typo. This was months of deliberate spending, knowing you were spending somebody else's money, just not quite sure whose. And remember, you gotta remind yourself here that banking errors aren't free money, no matter how tempting the balance looks on your bank statement. Bottom line is this: a bank mistake turned into a criminal case. A guilty plea turned into a prison sentence. And a man decided a year behind bars, I guess, was worth more than writing a very large check to pay back money he owed. And that tells you a lot about incentives, consequences, and in today's world, right versus wrong. And speaking of right versus wrong, have you heard about the former first son's latest, Hunter Biden? He's back in the headlines, this time saying that it is irrelevant that he suddenly ghosted his 7-year-old daughter, whom he shares with ex-stripper Lunden Roberts. His argument is that he wasn't legally obligated to have a relationship with his daughter. Now, his lawyer made the statement this week in response to Ms. Roberts reopening a 2019 paternity suit, this in Arkansas, alleging that the former 55-year-old former first son did not honor the obligations he agreed to in 2023. You remember all that? Well, when he should have been held in contempt of court, as well as he has not honored an increase in child support payments. I mean, this guy's just a deadbeat. So in a motion filed January 13th, Ms. Roberts claimed that Biden's indifference caused their daughter, Navy Joan Roberts, emotional trauma, and that he failed to deliver the artwork he had promised, which reportedly lost significant value after his father left office. You think? Who is going to buy Hunter Biden's artwork now that daddy can't come through with promises? Biden's legal team moved to dismiss the motion and all of Ms. Roberts' demands, first arguing that the child's feelings and relationship with Biden are immaterial since the court never required personal communication. His lawyer, Davis Langston, said specifically, the averments regarding the child's emotional state, her relationship with defendant, and their communications and bonding are not relevant to contempt or modification of child support. Wow. Remember, Hunter Biden has 5 children, including 3 from ex-wife Kathleen Buell and 1 with his current wife, Melissa Cohen. Can you imagine a father saying that he wasn't required to have a relationship with his daughter? Wow. Roberts previously noted that the child and Biden had shared a brief period of bonding, speaking several times during a series of scheduled calls until suddenly and without warning or explanation, Mr. Biden ghosted his daughter, Navy, and caused Navy to experience emotional trauma. Biden claims he's a painter, a self-taught painter, whose works have been valued in the 6-figure range while his dad was in office. Wow. He stated no specific legal timeline was established for delivering his artwork. You think he's kind of having a dry spell, maybe? In the attorney's letter, even if no paintings had been given to the child to date, such would not violate the order because as long as 30 paintings are assigned to the child by defendant, he will have complied with the order. Now, what are 30 paintings in today's time going to be worth for this poor little child? Joe Biden should make his son step up and do what every father should do, and that's support his daughter. Rather than having the lawyer arguing that Navy will be able to choose the painting she wants by a specific, though undisclosed, deadline. Again, what are they going to be worth? She needs money for her education. Her mom needs money now to raise her. And this deadbeat is trying to avoid paying? Wow. But, hey, who are we talking about here? Hunter Biden. It's looking like another interesting winter weather weekend. Look, when a winter storm starts showing up in the models across the East Coast, you'll hear one word over and over again. I don't care what station or which network or which weather channel you're watching. Meteorologists are uncertain. And there's a good reason for that. Right now, the ingredients may be coming together for a potentially significant snowstorm somewhere up the East Coast and particularly in the Northeast. The key details are still not completely locked in. Tracking, timing, storm strength will ultimately decide who gets buried under a foot of snow and who ends up with a sloppy inch followed by rain. So why are so-called nor'easters so hard to pin down? I did a little research. First, as you can imagine, stakes are enormous. You saw how we reacted last weekend, all up and down the East Coast. People getting ready for, just a horrific storm. It wasn't as bad as it could have been, but it was pretty bad. A lot of ice. Well, this time, more than 50 million people who live in that I-95 Northeast corridor is set to be hit again. A small shift in the storm's path can affect different areas different ways. Shut down schools, airports, disrupt supply chains, ripple across the entire country. That's why snowfall forecasts here get, you see them getting a lot of airtime and a lot of scrutiny. Tiny changes matter. Now, also, the Atlantic Ocean complicates everything. Again, that I-95 corridor often becomes a battleground between cold air over the land, milder air coming in off the ocean. If that warmer air pushes inland, snow can quickly turn into sleet or rain. Sometimes a rapidly strengthening storm can create its own cold air, keeping precipitation frozen longer than expected. So we see a tug of war here with the atmosphere. Finally, the storm track is critical. Meteorologists closely watch what's called the 47 benchmark, I'm told. That is a point up and down the East Coast, going all the way up into Nantucket. So there are a lot of factors here. The smallest details can make the biggest difference, and some of them don't show up until the storm is already underway and almost to its destination. Heavy snow bands can suddenly dump 1 to 3 inches an hour in narrow quarters, while you can have a dry area, a dry slot of air that can unexpectedly shut snowfall down in other areas. So here's what to expect in upstate South Carolina. Heavy snow possible. Total snow accumulations between 4 and 7 inches, even heavier in the western North Carolina region. Winds. This is the part that we didn't see last week. Winds could gust as high as 35 miles per hour. Portions of northeast Georgia, Piedmont, western North Carolina, and, of course, upstate South Carolina, all are going to be affected by this. Now, when's it going to start? Probably sometime this afternoon into Saturday morning. The heavy snow will make many roads impossible to drive on. Probably worse than, or at least as worse as last weekend. Produce isolated power outages due to the weight of the snow on tree limbs and power lines. There's going to be some hazardous conditions is what I'm trying to say, folks. So please, get what you need as early as you can today and be ready to hunker down again. Snow is expected to rapidly stick to the roads and other surfaces because it looks like our temperatures are going to be much lower in the 20s this time as opposed to last week when it hovered around that freezing mark. So again, I just want you to be safe. On the text line, Dan writes, why didn't South Carolina require Scout to have its headquarters in South Carolina as part of the deal? And if they don't, the company, why doesn't the company have to repay what South Carolina paid? Seems like the agency heads and the governor has not read the details of the contract and asked these questions up front. Well, Dan, I'll have to say, we got exactly what was negotiated at the time. At the time they were talking about building the manufacturing plant, there was, from my understanding, no mention of a headquarters being built. Now, did Scout know they were going to? Possibly. But South Carolina officials did not know that could potentially be part of the deal. Paul says, Paul here, another threatened government shutdown. I'm thinking the nation should establish a GoFundMe account for the unpaid workers during the duration. Thoughts? I don't know where to begin. Paul, as I said a few minutes ago, it appears there was a deal made. I don't think we're going to have a shutdown, not at least now anyway. There could be a partial shutdown in a couple of weeks if they can't come to terms with the DHS funding. Albert, good morning, Joey. It's very obvious that Representative Omar's attack was a staged event. Her actions during the event just don't add up. Albert, there's a lot of things that don't add up about Ilhan Omar. You're right. Appreciate your text. Frank on the MyPillow message line had this to say.
Hi, this is Frank Biggins. Remember 1963 when Jack Ruby shot Oswald? There's a clear photo, and you can see that is Ruby. Now, apart from that, the video of Charlie Kirk, the graphic nature of it, you don't see the killer in this video. What is the real relevance other than shock value? We don't see the gruesome aftermath of car wrecks. Just saying. Also, you can't really say everybody knows he did it and then say that he's going to get a fair trial. That's kind of contradictory. I'm not trying to say the man is innocent by any means. I'm not defending anything that he did, but just what little bit of while I learned from watching television, I guess. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good day.
Thank you, Frank. Appreciate the message on the MyPillow message line. Yours is welcome too. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Always use promo code Joey when you go to MyPillow.com and take advantage of some of the 2026 specials. Free shipping on your entire order, wholesale pricing. Let me give you some examples. The classic MyPillow, regular $49.98, now only $17.98 when you use promo code Joey at MyPillow.com. You can call as well, 800-893-4059. Turn any mattress into the best mattress ever with the Made in USA MyPillow My Mattress Topper and save up to $100 if you use promo code Joey. Rather than buying a whole new mattress, just use the MyPillow mattress topper. You're going to love it. Get a set of MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets for as low as $29.98 or the 6-pack towel set for only $39.98. Some of the best specials ever. Just go to MyPillow.com, use promo code Joey, call 800-893-4059, have your credit card ready. Order now, and your entire order ships absolutely free if you use promo code Joey. And again, your messages are always welcome on the MyPillow message line. On the text line, texter says the whistles do have another purpose other than just being used as an alert system. Talking about the people in Minneapolis with the whistles. No different than in the movies, the high-pitched sounds are used to create suspense, nervousness, or heightened emotion agitation. In addition, the whistles create confusion as it becomes more difficult to communicate over the noise. A simple but effective tool for chaos. God bless Hillary. Thank you, Hillary. Appreciate that message. And, I also heard, in Hillary, I responded to your text, that they're also standing outside of hotel rooms trying to keep ICE agents up so they don't get sleep. Texter, this is Faye, says, Joey, these hired thugs in Minneapolis have ties to the DMV because they are contacting ICE members saying, we know what you're driving, and if you don't leave in X amount of time, we will kill you. Can you imagine this happening in our country? If this isn't stopped, our entire country will be taken over by these thugs. What is wrong when laws in our country are ignored? Texter, welcome Minneapolis to the fog of war. I wish we could just let Minneapolis succeed. Not Minnesota, but Minneapolis. I don't know why the federal government is waiting until February 1st to cut off funds to sanctuary cities. We could give a special dispensation to Minneapolis. Let them just go. Maybe Minneapolis, we could California could annex them somehow. I don't know. Texter, hey, I listened to you several times. This is my first time texting. As more and more fraud is exposed, the result will be having more and more outlandish things to happen like that protest in the church. It is scary reality, but as the money flow to these far-left organizations is cut off, they're going to do more with less, and that means their rhetoric is going to be even more intense. From USAID to the Minnesota fraud, those are watching believe that this is a necessary thing to cut the funding off. Billy, thank you, Billy. Appreciate that. And again, all your comments are welcome on the MyPillow message line. You can leave me a message. You can text me as well. Email me directly, joey@joeyhudson.com, because what you think is very important, obviously. So keep those comments coming. Keep the emails coming. Keep the messages coming on the MyPillow message line. Up next, Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evette will join us for a few minutes to give us a sort of a play-by-play on the governor's state of the state this week and an update on what's happening in the state legislature. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com. On our guest line, Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evette. Welcome. How are you?
I'm doing well, Joey. I'm glad that you survived a winter Armageddon here in South Carolina last weekend. I think all in all, we were very prepared and everybody fared pretty well. I know out in Travelers Rest, I usually am on the top of the list for losing power. And I can say that without knocking on wood. We fared really well. We didn't lose power, didn't have a flicker. So very thankful for last weekend.
Yeah, it was beautiful. I enjoyed seeing it. But, then you get to the point where you're just ready for it to go away and get back to normal. But and who knows, may have another one coming through this weekend. So we'll see on that one. Governor McMaster gave his final State of the State last night. You have served alongside the governor for most of his historic tenure, the longest serving governor in our state's history. When you listened to his final State of the State last night, what stood out to you as maybe some of the most important parts of his legacy for South Carolina and where we're headed?
So for me, I sat up in the gallery and listened to him with just a tremendous sense of pride of what a statesman he is. I had a feeling based on what we talked about a few weeks ago that he was going to put a lot of history into this speech about South Carolina. You can just feel when he talks how much he loves the state, and the legacy he wants to leave is what he put in place, right? The governor has always felt that we needed to protect our green spaces. We have this is a state where hunting and fishing and hiking and waterfalls and ecotourism play a huge part. And, he wanted to make sure that he was going to save kind of those wooded spaces for our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. So he put a lot of very conservative thought into preservation and how to combat coastal erosion and, things that he felt were very important for the continued success of our state. And so I saw that last night, how he wants to see a legacy continue on at the State House of the executive branch working well with the General Assembly. And, I consider in the political world, Governor McMaster being a mentor of mine, and watching how the state is so different from the federal government. You tune on, it's constant gridlock. It's constant, everybody fighting and nothing getting done. And, when he talked about thanking the General Assembly for their hard work, knowing that they were all leaders sitting in the chamber and that together leaders have to solve problems. And so I was very proud to hear his message. It's something that he's done the entire time I've been with him, but he doesn't talk about because, again, Joey, he is a true statesman.
Yeah.
He's not a grandstander. He doesn't beat his chest. He gets things done for the people of South Carolina. And I was very proud sitting in the gallery listening to our accomplishments. Sometimes you think it seems like I've been here forever, and it seems on the same breath that it's like yesterday.
Yeah.
But to hear the accomplishments we've had over the last, we're in our 8th year. I was very proud of what we've done together, and hopeful for a future. And the governor saying he wants his legacy to continue on. So, yeah, very proud.
Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evett with me today. He did talk about many accomplishments throughout these past years, but he also talked about, he's not finished. He's got almost a year left, and he talked about some of the things that he wanted to get accomplished. One of those things, he kind of doubled down on possibly eliminating the state income tax, saying that he had signed it the second it arrives. Talk about legislative leaders. That's a priority for them too. Do you believe it's realistic that maybe this is the year that we can eliminate state income tax?
Joey, since I threw my head in to the governor's race, that is all I've talked about in all 46 counties around the state, is I believe we can and we will eliminate state income tax. I think we have to focus. If we focus on bringing efficiency and technology to government, Joey, that is key. Because when you look at other states that are doing this, they have already brought technology to the forefront, making sure we don't have to increase the size of government to do manual functions is key. That brings, anybody who owns a business will tell you that the more and more you staff and overstaff, the more expensive running a business gets.
Yeah.
And so, if we do that and we work on spending, we always have to keep spending in line, just like we do in our own homes. And we continue to grow this wonderful state. Most of what you're seeing, the extra $1.1 billion that the governor and I asked for in our executive budget to go for infrastructure, that was surplus money. And, I think, those three things together will get us there, and we can and we will get there.
Yeah. Lieutenant Governor, one of the things we learned this week from the Census Bureau is that South Carolina is the fastest growing state in the country. The governor mentioned that when he talked about the infrastructure, water, roads, power, schools, health care, and all. What concerns do you have when you think about managing that growth responsibly in the years to come?
Well, again, Joey, something I've been talking about since July. I was shocked during my time as lieutenant governor to find out that the state doesn't have a master plan. And I can tell you, as I traveled the 46 counties, the thing that got everybody's attention the most is when I talked about that a top priority for me is to develop a state master plan, something that identifies on paper our most fertile farmland, that looks at where the best places to put certain types of industries when they're looking at South Carolina would be, and how would you laser focused our resources as the state continues to grow. And let me tell you, Joey, rural areas light up when you talk about a master plan because they finally feel like they'll be part of the conversation.
Yeah.
And urban areas, like Greenville or Charleston, Horry County, Rock Hill, they light up because the people that are already there want to see a plan for growth that doesn't keep growing in the very same area.
Yeah.
So that we can kind of spread out and not have as much congestion. It is something that I think we have to look at, and something I would do on day one is to put the right people at the table. And again, when I talk about master plan, plans have to be fluid. So most people get excited. Some people will go, oh, so we're going to put something on paper that, no. Anybody will tell you that a plan is your best guess today. There are certain things that are just fact. But how things move around and where those types of industries would come in, that is going to depend on, what happens. And I wish I had a crystal ball to say what that would be. But I think that is a great way to continue a successful growth here in South Carolina without, putting too much pressure on any one area.
Sure. Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evans, always a pleasure. Appreciate your time today, and we'll catch up again next week.
Thank you, Joey. And if we do get another batch of winter weather, everybody, please stay safe. If you see white stuff falling from the sky, remember to stay in. As South Carolinians, we don't do well driving in the snow. So stay in your house, make some hot cocoa, enjoy watching it fall, and it'll melt soon, trust me.
Sure thing. Be safe. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.